Julian Castro. He is the former Secretary of Housing and Urban Development under President Obama, and he ran for president himself in 2020. Secretary Castro, thank you for joining us.
Great to be with you.
Want to start with a very basic question. We know we will hear from the president later on about the historic relief plan that has been passed. So what's next? Should the administration move on to infrastructure?
Well, I have no doubt that that the administration is going to continue to work on delivering on its promises to the American people. Look, the first 50 or so days of this administration have been a huge victory for Americans of all stripes, but particularly for the middle class and the poor, with the American Rescue Plan that already has saved tens of thousands of jobs. I'm sure you all have reported that companies like American Airlines that were going to furlough more than 20,000 workers are now saying they're going to preserve those jobs intact. The fact that we have people who are getting the vaccine today that would not be getting it if we were still under the slow vaccine distribution of the previous administration. So on the two things that people care about the most right now, their health and their jobs, their economic situation, this administration has done tremendously well in delivering. Infrastructure would be the next, I think, logical investment to make. During the campaign, Joe Biden had a $1 trillion infrastructure plan. Traditionally, infrastructure had been a very bipartisan issue that's faced headwinds in the last few years, but perhaps there's the ability to make a big investment that will put thousands and thousands of Americans to work doing great infrastructure projects that need to be done in communities across the United States, big and small. My hope is that, that we're actually going to get to see some Republicans get on board this time, unlike what we saw with the American Rescue Plan.
Secretary, I wanted to ask you about that because bipartisanship, we know that that is extremely important to President Biden. That's been the case since day one of his presidency. What do you think needs to happen, or why do you think there's been this breakdown? And we have the $1.9 trillion package with absolutely no support from Republicans.
Well, look, if there's somebody who can bring about the kind of bipartisanship that I think a lot of Americans do want, it's Joe Biden. He had 36 years of experience in the Senate. He knows how Congress works. He has strong relationships with a number of key Republicans on the other side of the aisle. I think, though, that it's clear you have a Republican Party who has decided that its best strategy is to focus on culture wars, to focus on Dr. Seuss, to focus on Pepe Le Pew, to try and distract their base from the fact that Joe Biden and the Democrats are delivering on saving American jobs. They're actually demonstrating competence in getting this vaccine out so that we can have a healthier America and get past this pandemic. I don't think the problem is with Joe Biden and the Democrats. I think the issue here truly is with a party that thinks that its best play for the next election is to say no and, to be the party of no. How do you change that? I think that Republicans, the voters in that party, have to push their leadership to change. With the American Rescue Plan, poll after poll showed that even a significant number of Republicans, just everyday Republicans, supported that legislation. And still, not even one single congressional Republican voted for it. That's amazing. That's a challenge they're going to have to solve, or else I think they're going to feel the effect of that. They're going to get wiped out in 2022 and beyond.
I want to switch gears and talk about the situation in Texas. We're seeing the state open up again, mask mandates coming to an end. What are your concerns as you look at the state right now? And what are you hearing from people on the ground in Texas about these decisions?
There's a lot of confusion and a lot of worry here. A number of the biggest businesses in Texas have made a decision to keep a mask mandate. Grocery stores, for instance, that operate here in Texas that have had a mask requirement in place for their customers have decided to keep it in place despite Governor Abbott's decision to lift that mask mandate. Look, a year ago, almost a year ago, in May of 2020, the governor admitted that he made a mistake in opening up bars too soon, and he reversed himself. At that time, Texas had about 5,000 new corona cases every day. Today, we have closer to 7,000, 7,500 cases per day. Within the last 2 weeks, Texas led the nation in the number of new coronavirus cases. So if it was a mistake to open everything up last May, it's an even bigger mistake to open up now, and to do so in conjunction with lifting the mask mandate instead of staggering those two things is a double mistake. I believe that we're going to see the effect of that with more hospitalizations and, unfortunately, more deaths. It's irresponsible. We know that we can see the light already at the end of the tunnel, that the vaccine distribution the Biden administration is leading is being effective. And so I think the governor should have just asked for a little bit more patience. And you know what? Texans are willing to do that.
Texans may be willing to do that, but some of them are getting $16,000 utility bills. What do you think the fallout will be from the catastrophe of the grid failing in Texas? Would that be the kind of issue that would allow Democrats to finally turn that state blue?
I think the distinction that it draws is between competence and incompetence, and people who are serving well-to-do corporate interests and those who are really concerned about everyday ratepayers in the state. The grid failed in 2011, so 10 years, and these Republicans in charge of the state had 10 years to require that improvements be made so that we wouldn't see the same thing again. Not only did we see that, we saw it even worse. And now ratepayers are getting stuck with these outrageous energy bills, thousands and thousands of dollars that many people are going to owe. A lot of folks are angry. They're demanding changes. I think we're going to see a lot of changes at ERCOT. We're going to see a lot of changes at the Public Utility Commission. We're going to see legislation probably trying to address these outrageous overcharges. At the end of the day, though, I don't think that it's lost on Texans that Republicans in this state had an opportunity to fix this, to do something about it, and they utterly failed because they were more interested in serving these big energy interests that fund their campaigns instead of protecting ratepayers. That does provide an opportunity for Democrats to offer a message of competence, and also that, hey, look, we're standing up for everyday hardworking Texans. Not big energy companies that are contributing to our campaigns.
President Biden has said that he wants to fight housing discrimination, and that is going to be one of his big priorities. Where would you say that the new housing secretary needs to start on this?
Yeah, I was excited to see Secretary Fudge confirmed yesterday. She has a wealth of experience when it comes to understanding America's housing needs. She's worked on these issues for a long time. She understands that we need to invest in fair housing. At HUD itself, we need to expand the staff, the number of people who are working on fair housing. There was an analysis a few years ago that showed that HUD was something like 500 staffers behind in terms of meeting the caseload on fair housing. So I expect that there will be a request for more resources for fair housing at HUD, also supporting organizations that do fair housing work on the ground. And very importantly, the administration has already done two things. It's signaled that it's going to bring back affirmatively furthering fair housing, which holds communities that get federal taxpayers from HUD more accountable for ensuring that there's equal housing opportunity throughout their jurisdiction, and protecting the LGBTQ community when they go into the market for an apartment or a home, or someone from the community presents themselves at a shelter, that they're going to be treated fairly. They're delivering a message that everyone counts in this country.
Secretary Castro, always great to have you on Yahoo Finance. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us this afternoon.